As we get closer to the UK general election day this Thursday, it seems to be things are getting heated between political parties, especially on the political right, the centre-right. Now, let's talk about Kemi Badenoch, the darling of the Tory establishment. Now, objectively speaking, Kemi does say certain good things that I like when it comes to free speech, when it comes to of course, women being women. It's not really rocket science. It's interesting that when someone like Kemi finally comes out and says it, people say, oh, she's a genius. She said free speech is good and women are women. I'm like, why is that a surprise? It's so embarrassing because the rest of the establishment are so weak and vanilla. Now, that aside, she's still very much part of the Tory establishment. Obviously, she was also sent to the World Economic Forum Davos conference, but they're obviously the government in general. But she's come out to insult the Reform UK voters and Reform and Nigel Farage, saying that Reform UK voters don't know what they are voting for, basically. So those of you who are considering to vote Reform, some of you for the first time, some of you used to be voting Tory, some maybe Labour and are joining Reform now, you don't know what you're voting for apparently. According to Kemi Badenoch, she says, and I'll quote, "What I am asking those people who are Reform voters or considering voting Reform is that you are good people. I know that you feel some disappointment with our party. I love that, some disappointment. But don't let these people, Nigel Farage and his people, who claim to be like you, get in. They are not like you at all. They are a totally different thing." And then she started to attack Nigel Farage and Reform UK because of a fake Reform UK activist who happened to be an actor, and it's already been exposed. She said, see, these people are evil, basically. They don't support Reform, even though we already exposed that that guy was not actually a proper Reform UK member. He was an activist, coming out of nowhere. Then she said, many people, she says, are voting for the label and potentially Nigel Farage and his branding. But of course, those people are not representative, and saying that they are offcuts, that the other parties have kicked out. Basically saying the Reform UK party in general, they are those who've been rejected by the Tories. You don't want to support them, essentially. People do need to look at them, she says. It goes well beyond racism and misogyny. It's people who are not fit to make the decisions about your life. They don't understand what it's about. They've got no clue. Interesting that she says Nigel Farage and Reform UK don't have a clue, even though they've been more in touch with society when it comes to the policy ideas than the Tories or the Labour Party. Saying, I think that he wants to be talked about again. She's talking about Nigel Farage. She's saying basically he's an attention seeker. She says, this is all a big show for him. Nigel Farage doesn't care if there is a Labour government or not. This is, I'm a celebrity for Nigel Farage. Basically, it's an attention seeker and everything else. The interesting thing about Kemi is she's also been fighting against woke culture and cancel culture and all this, and those who insult people based on their views, and she's doing the exact same thing. She also claims to be against identity politics, but she continues to use her card when she was, for example, criticized and attacked by the political left, saying, I cannot believe they're attacking the most senior black Tory minister, for example, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that doesn't really help. You're fighting identity politics with identity politics. It's a little bit concerning. But of course, she's politically raised by the Tory establishment. And of course, her mentor is Michael Gove. And Michael Gove, of course, is a little bit of questionable character in general. If you have Michael Gove as the intellectual prowess behind your campaign, it's a little bit questionable.